Let's go, let's go.
So, you guys just saw my 675-pound squat single, 7 plates, top set of this week. As you can see, is at a different gym, is at a Good Life Fitness gym. If you don't know what Good Life Fitness is, I don't know if that's a chain outside Canada, but it's kind of like a commercial gym that's a bit more like serious lifter friendly, like power lifters or bodybuilders can go there. Like I can deadlift there and they're not going to get mad at me and tell me to like leave. There's no lunk alarm, nothing like that. The reason I was there was because I had a birthday to celebrate on the day that I was doing my squat top single. So scheduling wise, I couldn't go to my normal gym, and yeah, so I had to do it there. And honestly, it's a lot worse. I'd say at this point, I'm so used to squatting on the competition setup, stiff bar, calibrated plates, less whip, that it straight up like sucks squatting on that setup. You can see midway, I'm like kind of shaking back and forth. That's because I was so not used to that whip. My descent was all messed up. My groove was all messed up. All considered though, still move pretty fine. So for the more in-depth topic of today's video, do I think sumo deadlifts are cheating? Obviously, for me, my answer is no. You guys know I pull sumo, do it in competition. To me, if you're better at something, why would you not do it in competition? If you don't do it, you're kind of stupid. But that still doesn't answer the argument of, you know, if you think just because it's in the rule book doesn't mean it's the same lift, it's way easier, that's why it's cheating. I think that's also wrong, and I have a lot of reasons why. So the most common argument you'll see that why it's cheating is the argument about range of motion. And to me, that's an irrelevant argument for powerlifting. It seems like it wouldn't be. It kind of makes sense, but when you look at it more in depth, it really isn't. That's for several reasons. First off, powerlifting isn't really about range of motion in terms of what's the limiting factor in a lift. It's peak force output. You know, if you don't hit the peak force output needed to move a certain weight, you're not going to move it. It doesn't matter what the range of motion is, you're not going to move it at all. So even if you have the shorter range of motion of sumo, you still do not change the peak force output needed to move a given weight. 700 pounds still needs 700 pounds of force output to be moved, whether sumo or conventional. So then you might say, well, wait, given that peak force output on a longer range of motion, wouldn't that mean it's more taxing? You're gonna have to spend more energy putting out that peak force. And the answer is still no, that's not gonna affect your 1 rep max. Your muscles use something called ATP for energy. It's adenosine triphosphate, it's the name of the molecule. It breaks apart and releases energy, and that's how your muscles contract. And basically, even on the longest deadlift of your life, the longest grinder, your muscles are still going to have more than enough ATP to sustain maximal contraction. It's not going to be a problem at all. I'm going to link to an article by Greg Nuckols, my favorite guy for combining science and powerlifting, or lifting in general, together, down below, where he explains in detail. But the energy is still not going to be the deciding factor in your 1 rep max. It's just going to be peak force output. Now, if you're talking about pure taxing on the body's energy reserves, yes, that may be true, but still, that's not changing your 1 rep max, how much you can lift. It's just how taxing it is energy wise. So then the question still remains, why can all these people who are tiny pull so much more sumo than other people similar size can conventional, or people even bigger than can conventional, or even themselves? Why can they pull so much sumo but they couldn't do the same conventional? And the answer is simply, they're built better for it. And I don't see why that's cheating. You know, if you look at the absolute strongest lifters in the world, for example, say Eddie Hall or Hathor Bjornsson or Brian Shaw, you know, strongman, they all pull conventional. And the reason for that is simply, there is the rules in strongman, you can't pull sumo, but also I bet if they did sumo, they wouldn't be as good. They simply don't have the mobility for it. You can look in powerlifting, where super heavyweights are allowed to pull sumo, but the majority, especially at the elite level, pull conventional. It's simply what they're built best for. And we never say Eddie Hall's cheating because he doesn't pull sumo, even though I bet if Eddie Hall tried to pull sumo, he'd pull less than he can with his conventional. He's just so built for that conventional. I bet his sumo would be terrible because he just simply wouldn't have the mobility, being a 450-pound man, to hit it efficiently. But how come we don't give the same benefit of the doubt to people who are smaller in stature pulling sumo? Or just apply it to other sports. Use that same logic. LeBron James is too tall. Like, what is he, 6'10"? That's cheating. He's so close to the net. We should make the nets taller when he's shooting. Like, nobody does that. Nobody argues for fitting their physical traits to the standards. Why should we do the same for people pulling sumo? And I just think that whole argument, even if you think that they should still, it just goes against what sports really is. You know, sports is about seeing who's the best physically for the sport. If we had to give people handicaps based on their anatomy, well, then everybody be equal. There's no point in competing. The whole point of competing is to see who's the best. And it's going to be unfair. Genetics are going to play a huge role in it. Your build's going to play a huge role. Your hip anatomy, if you're better for points to more conventional. Don't worry about it. That's the whole point of sports. So that's my whole take on, is sumo cheating? Is conventional what should be only allowed in powerlifting? No, don't think sumo's cheating. That's basically it. Something else I want to address is my last long form video about drug testing, and I mentioned Clarence Kennedy's video, and I said I hadn't watched it, and turns out I got the point of his video pretty wrong. Honestly, I watched it later. I realized his arguments was very valid, and I was basically talking about something he didn't talk about. You know, I took it wrong. I want to acknowledge that. And he actually commented on my video. If you go back, you can see the comment. He made some very good points. His point's very clear, and I have to say I agree with him 100%. But I still stand by my point, which I think I was arguing different from his point, that I think in powerlifting specifically, most people in the IPF drug-tested powerlifting are actually natural. I think if it were like weightlifting, for example, which he goes over, where there's huge incentives to be top and pass drug tests, then a lot of people would be cheating. But in powerlifting, where there's no real incentive for you to do drug tested versus untested, I do think that the majority of people who say they're drug tested, say they're drug free are. So that's basically it for this video. Please comment below any other subjects you want to see me talk more in depth about. Once a week, I'm going to release a video like this that's longer, where I basically recap my training of the week quickly and talk more in depth about a topic like this that requires several minutes to talk about. And I'm going to keep up the same schedule I have been, where I'm uploading every 2 days. The other videos that aren't the long ones will just be those little short, kind of funny videos. You know, they do well. They get quite a bit of views, drives attention to my channel. And then these long form videos I can do to be more informative and hopefully help you guys. So yeah, comment below anything you want me to talk about. Like the video, subscribe, turn on notifications, share it, comment. It really helps me grow the channel. And thanks for watching, guys.